How's it going, everyone? My name is Oskip, and today we're going to be tackling another one of these basic to intermediate and expert level builds. So very quickly before we start, I wanted to bring up a matter that's quite important. Considering the topic of this video, I thought it was the perfect time to do it. So MrBeast and a few other YouTubers have been fundraising to do this Teamtrees. They're trying to plant 20 million trees by 2020. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a link down below where you guys can donate to it. The people that are running it are teamtrees.org, and basically for every $1 that you donate, they'll plant a tree. You can donate anywhere from 1 to however many trees you want, but if you get 5 seconds and you've got $1 or £1 lying around, then consider putting it towards that. Apart from that, let's get on with the video. Previously, we started off by making this survival starter house. This is the expert level, and I tried my best to use materials for this build that were relatively simple and easy to get early on. It's pretty much just a lot of wood, a little bit of cobblestone, some stone brick, and that's about it really. But for this one, I'm going to be taking a little bit of a different approach. Where the last episode was heavily survival based, I wanted to make an episode that is more creative based. So for now, we're going to abandon this little house and we're going to go across the ocean to the new building area. So just off to the right here, I found this awesome little forest, and well, with the singled out tree that you can see here, I think you know what we're going to work on. So this is today's build that I want to focus on. This is just the default large oak tree that you can get in Minecraft that will spawn naturally. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to make a tree house out of it. So the first level that we're going to work with here is at the basic level. Before we get things started, I know that people are going to ask, yes, I am using a texture pack. All it does is make the leaves on the trees look a little bit nicer, and as you can see here, we've got a few different variations in the colors of leaves. This is just a regular oak tree though, so we're going to start and make a basic tree house. Okay, so this is the basic version of the treehouse. This is achievable in survival. There's nothing too crazy going on, but I'll give you a little tour around. So we've got this little grass pathway that leads to the bottom of the tree. So I've added some logs around the tree at the base just to give it more of a trunk. So you've got these fences around the first platform level, and then they also reach up into the branches of the trees just to give a little bit more of a realistic support. You can step up onto the roots of the tree and climb the ladder to the first floor. And so there's nothing actually on this level. I just wanted to make it so that it's got a multi-tiered system. You could add some stuff to this platform, but I decided to just add everything into the second level, which is in the actual tree itself. So I really like what I've done with this area for what there is. I've basically just dug out the interior of the tree and made it very ununiform, if that's even the right word. I don't even know. I've made it very uneven deliberately. I mean, you can flatten it off, obviously. This gives a little bit more of an interesting look to it rather than it just being a flat floor. So as you come up the ladder, it just steps up a little bit, and you've got a bed, you've got a few chests, crafting table, just the simple essentials. And I've deliberately left these holes in the actual leaves because I thought it was a nice little kind of way to peek out and get a little bit of the outside view from inside. I mean, I'm trying to mimic what an actual treehouse in real life would be like, so there probably would be gaps in the leaves where you'd want to look out and be able to see the surroundings outside. But yeah, I've kind of just kept things really simple. It's the base default tree. I've added a few leaves and logs here and there, but the majority of it is just adding platforms, basically. So yeah, it's pretty small. There's not a lot going on, but it's very cozy, and I feel like it's a pretty believable treehouse for anyone. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this basic level and we're going to upgrade it to the intermediate level. So anything from here on isn't really survival friendly, as I'm going to be using some World Edit and some Voxel Sniper to make a custom tree, and then we're going to make a larger treehouse. Anyway, let's get started, shall we? Right, so after a little while, this is the intermediate treehouse. Now, obviously, this is a custom tree. I used World Edit to make the tree. I built up the logs to make the trunk first, then manually built the branches out, mixing in some fences and some slabs. And then I used a World Edit brush of air and oak leaves to make the leaves on top, just out of spheres, basically, and slowly built it up. And for what it is, it's not bad. It's come out pretty decent. So let's start down at the bottom. So same thing going on. We've got this little grass path leading up to the bottom here. Now, the very bottom here, this is the entrance down by the roots. I didn't want it accessible directly from the ground, so actually if I try to jump up, you can't quite get onto it because it's 2 blocks tall. So instead you can kind of just jump up onto the roots and then you can jump up from there. So when we get up, this is the first level of the treehouse. Just got a little gate there to stop us from falling down again. You can walk all the way around. You can shift underneath it this side. We've got a few parrots making some noise here, which is nice and loud. You don't have to go all the way around. You can obviously go just straight right out of here as well, but we've got another hanging ladder going up to the second floor. Second floor, open up the trapdoor, and, well, we've got loads more parrots. But, well, if we put on a music disc, we can get them jamming away. But yeah, this is the top floor of the treehouse, and this is just the living area, really. I've tried to make it as homely as possible, so we've got some chests, we've got a jukebox in the corner to play the music for the parrots, a few still parrots up there just jamming away, and then a few that are going nuts and trying to jump up into this area for some reason. I'm not really sure. They're like hiding in the leaves. Either way, we've got a crafting table on the floor just because I wanted to make some use of the space, and it's like a little carpet design. Obviously, only the best music discs playing. And then we've got this, I guess it's meant to be like a little TV. It's not really. I don't know what it turned out to be or what it's meant to be, but it's meant to be a little TV. We've got a painting on it to make it look like it's playing something. But yeah, this is pretty much the living area of the treehouse. So yeah, it's pretty similar to the basic treehouse. It's just a little bit bigger currently. I've mixed in a few other things as well, so it's not just the log that was in the basic one. We've got some spruce slabs and fences, as they kind of blend in with the oak wood a little bit more than the oak slabs and oak fences. And so instead I've used them for the platforms and like the fencing and whatnot. We've got them going all the way up into the branches as well to act as like a support to hold the platform up. And so yeah, this isn't a survival option. This is definitely a creative option. I mean, the fact is I built the entire tree using World Edit. You're not going to be able to get something like this manually. If you build it manually, then well done to you, but it's quite unlikely just because the sheer amount of leaves and stuff like that. Same goes for the ladders. To get this kind of floating ladder design, we had to use some barrier blocks beneath it. There are other ways to do it. You don't have to do barrier blocks, but it's just the way that I opted to do it. But there's no survival way of making floating ladders like that. So it's either a case of World Edit or barrier blocks, and I decided to choose barrier blocks in the end. I mean, yeah, apart from that, it's just a pretty nice treehouse, to be honest. Down here, I've just kind of expanded on the roots, and I've just basically scattered in a bunch of fences and a bunch of slabs and some leaves here and there just to act like greenery and bushes and whatnot, just to make things a little bit more interesting. I think it's quite a homely little treehouse. I mean, it's not little, it's bigger than the default trees, but it's an intermediate treehouse. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the intermediate treehouse and we're going to develop on it one more time. So I guess let's just get stuck into it and see what happens. So after all of that, this is what I was able to come up with. As you saw during the time lapse, I basically started by making the tree itself and doing all the branches and whatnot. And then once I got that down, I did all of the platforms and the interior for the actual treehouse, and then finished it off by adding all of the vegetation around the bottom with all the mushrooms and whatnot. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it came out, to be honest. So I guess let's just start from the bottom. We've got our little alpaca traveler villager dude. He always seems to appear in every one of these builds. So look at this, just underneath, you can see the scale of it. It's just huge, but like with these shaders as well. God, gorgeous. So we can literally just take this path all the way up to the top. I wanted to keep it relatively simple and do some sort of spiral staircase around the actual trunk of the tree rather than just doing a ladder up. So you can diverge, you can go up into here to one of the treehouse branches, and then you've got a nice little hanging ladder here to come up to the next level. I've basically just made a bunch of these little platforms all around inside the actual tree that you can do whatever with. I've just made several different platforms and then a main area like a hub, which is this area here. And honestly, I think it fits the theme rather well. Like, it's not a house, it's more like a little shelter in the center of the tree, and it looks like it's pretty natural as well. I've tried to use the same materials that you would probably be able to get from this kind of tree and whatnot. I ended up using spruce logs as the main supports for it because I didn't want it to blend in with the oak of the branches. I wanted it to stand out slightly from the tree itself so it doesn't just blend in with the branches, but it does a good job of being secluded in there. This looks like something you might find in World of Warcraft or something, like a giant life tree or something, or a giant tree with a whole civilization going on inside. So in the main area, you can obviously go off into the different branches of the tree. So there's one here to another platform, one over here which leads to another platform, there's one here which leads to a platform. Basically, it goes off into each different direction, which is really nice. So then once you're done with that, you can climb up to the second layer of the main base. And up here, it's very homely, it's very, very warm. You've got all these hanging lanterns around as well to give the nice lighting. We've got some stairs that lead up to another set of platforms here, and then one on the other side as well, just stepping up onto this small platform here. So there's a bunch of different small platforms. I suppose they could be turned into other kind of shacks similar to this. I feel like this is probably something that you would do in a treehouse, because usually you would put up a wall and make some sort of house inside the treehouse, but I didn't want to enclose it, so I kept it quite open with this design. I literally just made the frame, some supports to go along with it, and then a roof on top, and that's about it. And also, speaking of the roof on top, it is just a mishmash of different slabs and campfires. But I think it works really well in this case. It looks very natural and kind of wonky, and it's meant to look like that. It's not meant to be very uniform. Anyway, you've got all of this space to work up with here, and obviously there's a few gaps in the tree as well, so you can get some natural light through, which is beautiful. And then obviously I did all of these hanging leaves as well to look like vines, like they're hanging down, and it looks really good with this texture pack that I've got on that changes the actual leaf blocks as well, so they're not just square. It gives them a bit more foliage. Down at the very bottom here, it's kind of difficult to tell with these shaders on, so I might take them off for this moment. Right, so now I've got the shaders off, you can kind of see a little bit easier what's actually going on. We've got some vines down here that are kind of creeping up the sides of the tree, just a bit of greenery basically adding into the mix. We've got some mushrooms down at the base here as well. I wanted to include some other kind of natural vegetation that might grow on the tree, and usually you get mushrooms in that kind of area, don't you? So I've never really included it before, and I wanted to include some mushrooms, so I used a mixture of the stems and the brown mushrooms that you find in the biomes, and just kind of roughly scattered them around the base of the tree. I think just giving that little bit more color into it does help break up the brown of the bark. So obviously for the actual tree, all I used was natural log blocks. I didn't use fences and I didn't use slabs like I did previously. And the reason for that is because this is such a larger scale tree, there's not really much point in me needing to do that. Whereas in the previous tree, it was a little bit smaller, so I had to get some more detail in where it was needed. Anyway, I'm really happy with how it turned out, to be honest. I've never done a huge tree like this, honestly. The biggest tree that I've done previously was in my Patreon build for the transformation. Really happy with how I got the branches down. I spent a long time working on that, and I just love how like kind of natural it looks, even with all of the manual planks and stuff that I've added for the walkways and whatnot. It just looks really, it looks like it was grown there. It looks like it's been placed deliberately. Obviously it was placed deliberately, but you know what I mean. Right, so very quickly before we move on, I'm going to put the shaders back on. Right, so now that I've got the shaders back on, I'm just very quickly going to change it to nighttime so we can see what it looks like with the lights glowing up in the night. Yeah, look at that. That looks nice, doesn't it? I suppose that's partially just because the shaders shaders and whatnot, but I always love testing it out in the night mode as well to see what it looks like once it's all lit up. It just looks really cozy, honestly, and to be honest, I want to live in it. I've built it and now I want to live in it, but it does just look really, really cozy. Anyway, that just about does it for this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this little basic to intermediate to expert tier build. I enjoyed doing the last one and I had just as much fun doing this one, and it's really interesting even for myself to see the different tiers of building a certain build and getting to see what the outcome is. We went from basic, which was literally just a default tree, to intermediate, which was the first custom tree, which was a little bit bigger, and then to the expert tier, which was just the overhaul, making a massive oak tree. Obviously, if you guys did enjoy, then make sure you subscribe, hit that red button and turn on notifications so that you'll be notified the next time that I upload. And if you want to see more of these, then let me know down in the comments down below what you want me to do next, whether it's more survival or more creative based. I plan to continue to make these kind of videos and go through a series of different builds. So let me know what you want to see down below. Apart from that, I hope that you guys enjoyed and I'll see you next time.